This is the Stoughton City Council meeting, and the first item of business would be the roll call.
Okay, Hirsch.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Tillison.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Butler.
Here.
Schumacher.
Here.
Viano.
Here.
Abel.
Absent and excused.
Okay, thank you. Caravello.
Here.
Wozniak Scanlon.
Here.
And I see Alder Nino is joining us right now.
Okay.
Nino. And Alder Abel is with us as well.
Okay, great.
So we have 11 alders present, and Alder Sherlucky is absent and excused.
All right, we are certified in compliance with open meeting laws. Nobody's signed up for public comment. We'll go to communications and presentations. The first one would be the infamous slideshow from President Schumacher, and this will just take a second to go.
Added slide transitions in this time, so it'll be, fantastic. This set of them is by this page is from the 1960 directory. I wasn't able to find any from the 1950s at all. It jumps pretty much from the 40s into the 60s in the library collection. So unless somebody out there's got some 1950s directories that they're willing to donate in, that'd be great. So this one was 1960, published by the Wisconsin Telephone Company this time. It spans across after the Great Depression, after World War II, and into post-war suburban times. And the cover was documenting the technological transitions as the phone numbers were beginning to transition over. And it said that the residents were not supposed to use it after 1 a.m. on October 16th. I'm not sure why that note was on there, but interesting anyway. So I've pulled out 34 of the ads that were in there. A lot of them are still auto-related things. There were 4 dealerships this time, and 2 service stations, and 2 body shops, and there was some brand consolidations among the autos in there. There were 7 auto brands in the 1930s, and then there were only 6 after that. One notable one was the Rambler was added into this one after the merger with American Motors.
I remember that car.
60s had some entirely new sections in there, and that was television sales and service, and there were nursing and convalescent homes. There could have been ones in the 50s, but because I didn't have any materials out of that, so they may have appeared earlier than 1960. Still some of the familiar family names in there, and some of the businesses that were still operating out of some of the same locations as well. This started to show some of the, at least in this directory, it started showing some of the spreading out of advertising. Some of the things were outside of the city limits this time. Some of the things even advertised out of Madison as well. I didn't include the Madison ones, but they started to advertise within the directories here in town. One of the changes in there was on 4th Street. There was the dairy that was on 4th Street. It was the Stoughton Pure Milk one, and then that migrated or changed over to Johnson Dairy after somewhere between my last presentation and this one. Some of the bigger ones out there are the prevalence of television. It just didn't exist in the prior one, probably because it wasn't invented, so that's why it wouldn't have been in the other one, but it arrived with Aurora, so. We also got some of the first franchising names that were in here, as Anderson's Walgreen Pharmacy. There were, in this one, some ones that were, or businesses that were women-owned businesses. Geraldine Teckham owning the Central Beauty and Gift Nook, and Opal Thorson owning and managing the Thorson's Nursing Home. So at least they were, again, I don't know if they were in there in the 1950s, but at least by 1960, they were among the first women owner proprietors of their businesses. Some things to note in how the ads are evolving since the last time. We had a lot of just like the little strip, pretty simple ads in there, but they were really getting into using like cartoons and photographs and graphics and different fonts, all sorts of things in there. They started switching off to doing a little bit more psychology in their advertising as well. And Fosdell showed up in this one too. I don't think it wasn't in the 30s. I think so. I think that one is, and then the other one is the, I can picture it where it is on page, but I can't.
Oh, I think
It's close where that that small garden space is. Yeah. That is that from the 1960s. I'll have another set of, so I'll still hit up the 1980s next, and then as, well, I can do it. If you want a third one, do you want a third one for the 70s too? The 80s, we want to see, you know, like what the influence of Madonna and that would have been in there. And then one for the 2000s, which kind of is the death knell for print ad after that, and telephone books, so.
What is this TR? What does that mean?
Trinity.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
TR Trinity.
And how do you dial TR?
TR 87. 873 was this. Yeah. For some reason they did the names and then they just dropped that. And it was 873.
This book had the first, started to show the 608 area code in it also. So this was like right during the conversion of telephone numbers.
I remember being in school when they came in and they taught us how to use it.
Any other questions or comments on this one? All right, we'll go into the TID termination 101. Director Trelotowski.
So when we passed the resolution to close TID 4, tried to verbalize the levy limit adjustment as well as the value that goes to calculate the rate. So it was requested to come back with a short presentation on termination 101. So we're going to put some numbers to this. And as the mayor brought up, he brought up there's a new calculation too. So Act 12 is for any TIDs created after October 1st of 2024. We don't even have any TIDs that this applies to, so we won't see this calculation until way in the future, but I do have a slide that just brings up some points on that. So we're going to focus on TIDs that were created before October 1st, 2024. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is what I was verbalizing, but to put numbers to this, so this gets the percentage calculation of the levy limit adjustment, and then we'll show how you calculate out that dollar amount as well. So you get half of the percentage of the final increment value of the TID divided by that same year TID out equalized value. So for TID, so it's the equalized value of the city without the TIDs in it. So TID 4, the final increment value was about 16.8 million. So while the total value of the TID is about 25.6, 8.8 is already in the, when calculating out the rate. So we'll get into that further, but so the final increment value is at 16.8. The 2025 TID out equalized value was about 1.9 billion. So you take the 16.8 divided by the 1.9 billion and you get a percentage. You only get half or 50% of that percentage. So then you take that percentage divided by 2 to get the 0.432%. So if we go to the, he's not on there. Are you able to just advance the slide? Thank you. So then to get the dollar amount that we are able to adjust our levy by is taking the base levy of the current year times that percentage. So the 2025 base levy was about 8.4 million. So we're not including the general obligation debt. So we show the total levy calculation that we just passed in 2025 for 2026 budget. So 2025 levy to payable 2026. So you take that amount times that percentage, you get your what you're going to adjust your levy by. So we'll get an increase about 36,000 for the TID closure. Does that help? Okay. So then let's look at when I was talking about, so you only get a portion of that increment value for a levy adjustment. That full increment value will go in the TID out equalized value to calculate the mill rate. So if we go to the next slide, we'll just demonstrate that. So we have our TID out equalized value. If we add in that 16.8 million of increment value, you get your new amount of the 1.964 million. So assuming everything stays the same, we're not having any change in levy, any other value change, just to demonstrate this, we're going to take what our total operating and debt levy is at the 13.9. If we divide it by what it actually was, we got what our rate was at the 7.16 on an equalized basis. If we add in that increment value, you can see how the rate drops. So we get that full increment value when calculating the rate, but we only get a percentage of that to calculate what our levy limit adjustment is. Any questions on that? Okay. So the next slide, quickly just pointing out that there is a change in what municipalities will get for new TIDs created with a 2025 base value or created after 10/1/2024. They will only get 10% of new construction that occurred during the time of the TID creation through its closure. So you get new construction, not final increment value. So you're not getting that benefit of the economic appreciation throughout the life of the TID. So it significantly diminishes the TID closure levy limit adjustment. However, you get up to 25% if that TID closes within 75% or less of the expected termination date. So new, you have to determine when the TID is going to close, set that date now with new TID created. If you're closed within 75% or less, you get an additional 15% of that. So I wouldn't focus on this part because this isn't going to happen for years, but just to point out that there is a difference in the effect of it. Any questions?
Do you know the reasoning behind this and why? I mean, so Act 12 came in, what, 10 years ago? And now it's coming in and it seems more complicated and like disenfranchising. First, they want you to do net new construction, but then they penalize you for doing net new construction if you can't get it done within 75% of the time, or pay it back within that period of time. It just seems very convoluted. And you probably,
I'll say it's a political answer. Certain legislators were not fans of TIF or TID in general, and wanted to create more incentive, or basically push down mill rates, I guess. So this was one way to sort of achieve that goal, I guess. I don't know if that made sense, Lisa, or if I'm wrong, but.
No, it makes sense to me. Yes, there is definitely ones that
Yeah,
oppose.
there's been a
anything.
whole bunch of proposals to make it more of an incentive and less of an incentive depending on the legislators, and it's really on both sides of the aisle. It's not even really 100% partisan on this one. So, you know, the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, we're lobbying to do things that we think make common sense. I think we oppose this one because it really doesn't help us. Any other questions on this presentation? All right, then we'll move on. Takes us to the consent agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion on the consent agenda?
Tillison motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Reeves. Would anybody like anything acted on separately? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. He might be joining us later. I didn't see him.
He's double booked, so he's in Fitchburg right now.
Okay.
He's trying to get, he was gonna get on as soon as he's done, so.
When he gets on, we'll get to his item. We'll go to old business. Ordinance number 5 is the second reading from Public Safety. Alderperson Wozniak Scanlon.
It is ordinance 5, 2026 to amend section 70-176-94, no parking on South 4th Street. It was recommended by Public Safety 5-0. This is to eliminate or have no parking on the east side of the street. And at our first reading, Alder Hirsch had asked for some graphics, so we have added those so that you can see that when there's cars parked on both sides of the road, that essentially it becomes a one-lane road.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jensen. Any questions or comments on this one? Did that take care of your needs, Alder Hirsch? Okay. Alder Jensen, did you have anything? Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
Nay.
One opposed. Motion carries. Okay, new business, R30 of 2026. This one came from Plan Commission, Alderperson Carabello.
And this is R30 of 2026, approving an extraterritorial land division at parcel number 051103386702 and 051103292607 in the town of Dunkirk, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Tillison, Alderperson Carabello.
And this is a land division that is in our extraterritorial jurisdictional boundary, which is 1.5 miles around the city of Stoughton, basically. And these folks want to separate their existing residents from their farmland.
All All right, anything you want to add, Director Munz-Pritchard?
We've had several extraterritorial, all of them have been removing the farmland except for this one, which is removing the wetland. Sorry. So that's the only difference. It's outside of, Dane County is recommending approval, so.
This one, actually, there's something kind of unique about this one compared to other ones we've done with this farmland preservation that these folks are trying to do, and that Dunkirk has some, it falls into this, what is it, the agricultural preservation.
So I know that the remainder of the lot the remainder of the lot has to say 35 acres, and it has to be put into it's a farmland preservation one. I just remember, I know that it's really interesting the way that it's written. Per Dane County ordinance, basically what happens is when they section it off, even if they don't include it in a CSM, it basically goes through a quitclaim deed, like the technical term I like to use, smushing it together, right? And then even though you're seeing property lines there is actually non-existent, it's all one lot. So.
And as you said, a bunch of it is wetland.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it looks like it's getting sectioned off, but if you look way on the other side is the access to the property, like a roadway access, so.
Are there any questions or comments on it? Alderperson Reeves and then Jensen.
Well, I'm just, maybe you can help me clarify. It wasn't clear are they trying to protect the wetland, or I'm not clear about what they were hoping to accomplish or what they're wanting to do, because they're not selling either parcel at this juncture, or I guess you maybe wouldn't know, but I'm trying to figure out what they're hoping to do with this. And I guess making sure that it sounds like the wetland would be protected, but I guess wanted a confirmation.
Yeah, I don't know if they might be putting it in some kind of, restrictive deed or easement in that area, because if you look where they're sectioning it off on the upper part, that's like the farmland on the north side, and then the south side is like getting into that wetland area. I mean, you can see it from the map. So extraterritorial is really, it's a good thing for like really large scale subdivisions and stuff like that, right outside of our boundaries. But these, because of what they are, we don't get a lot of information with them. So I do we just had one that came through that, I was just talking to you beforehand. And so I'm trying to get it so that we're referencing Dane County's approval so we can see the restrictions put on it, even if it's like going after us, so that we can follow it, right? So, but we're just not given a lot of information. Some of them I can see and go, oh, they're clearly sectioning off this, the family residence or whatnot, but this one's different. I don't know, maybe they're selling it off to use for I don't know, there's a lot of possibilities, but you can't, it's very clearly like a kettle, right?
Thank you.
Alderperson Jensen, did you have a question?
Well, that was my question too, thank
Okay.
you. But I do have one other thing I was thinking about.
Sure.
I've never known this, and I'm curious, is it 4.5 miles from the city center or from the city limits? I'm assuming it's the city limits.
It's 1.5 from the city limits. So that's why
Mile and a half.
yeah, but.
Or mile and a half, okay.
Yeah, sorry, 1.5. But we also, if you look to the red line in there, and I don't have it labeled, but the red line is actually the, and if I showed you where the bubble was, it would be way out here and you couldn't see where, because it's especially this one is so close to the city, comparatively speaking, with that 1.5 miles. But that red line on there is actually the sewer service area as well. So the sewer service area doesn't necessarily follow the, the CARP-C boundary doesn't necessarily follow the city limits either. So that's included in there as well.
Alderperson Hirsch.
I was just kind of Googling conservation easements, and it does say in Wisconsin that certain types of easements do require their own separate CSM. So I think that's maybe what we're saying?
It very well could be. I
Because it
think,
says if takes the entire property, then it doesn't need it, but if it takes off a part of the property, then you would. But this is AI, so, you know.
yeah. Well,
You probably have more
No, you're
information.
right. You're probably right. The only problem is like, so this one, it like, in there, the report, I think, but it's still pending, at least when I wrote the report. So it might have gone to county board already, but it's pending county board approval when I wrote the report. So, and I try to write the report 2 weeks prior to the plan commission meetings, so I can get those sent off to the applicants so that they can address any, I don't want to send those like the day before our meeting and be like, by the way, here's all the list of stuff you got to address. Thanks. Like, so, yeah, I could look it up while we're sitting here and see what was done.
No, I was just curious. I think everybody's just curious what they're.
Are we prepared to vote on it?
Yeah, I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve.
All right, I think we had a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Next item also came from Plan Commission, first reading.
And this one is ordinance 6 of 2026, sorry, this one is ordinance 6 of 2026, an ordinance by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton, amending section 66-501 of the Stoughton Code of Ordinances, changing minor subdivision to certified survey maps. And this is a first reading.
All right, Director Munns-Pritchard, do you want to cover the red line on this one?
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I do need to change some stuff in the resolution that was brought to my attention, but essentially what it is it's like lot line adjustments or lot combinations would just be going through city staff. You know, what any kind of land division would come to Plan Commission still. So it's lot combination, except for which right now our ordinance already approves to do a land division for existing duplexes or the twin homes. Those can go through a CSM
Zero lot
process
line.
that is a, huh?
Zero lot line? The zero lot lines?
Those, yeah, the zero lot lines, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, was hearing something totally different.
Okay.
But, so that's really what this is, and it's cleaning up that language, so
So this will be back for a second reading?
it would.
Okay. Any questions for tonight? We'll move on to the next one, which is also a first reading from Finance Committee, Alderperson Butler.
This is ordinance 7 of 2026, ordinance by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton, amending sections 2-646 and 2-650 of the Stoughton Code of Ordinances relating to special assessments. And first reading, and this too is, if I recall correctly, kind of a cleanup because we had previously repealed sections relating to reduction of special assessment for indigent individuals or financial hardship, and this is cleaning up some additional language. Anything you'd like to add, Lisa or Chris?
Nope, that's exactly it. There was just some remnant language in there that needed to be cleaned up from a previous repeal of some sections. I don't know if Attorney Manthe wants to add anything.
Yeah, I can't remember when this happened, but basically, like, we had an outdated section that allowed for waivers of special assessments for indigent people, but state law had changed, and then the city did away with a lot of the special assessments as well. So that section was repealed. There was just some purpose statements that reference like indigent, basically kind of referencing the prior sections that have been repealed. So this is just removing some of those remnant references.
Okay. Any questions or comments on any of that? All right, we'll keep moving on then. R31 is also from Finance.
R31, 2026 preliminary resolution declaring an intent to exercise special assessment powers for 2026 street and sidewalk projects, and I so move.
Second.
Alderperson Butler.
And we should add, this was amended. The first section where it references special assessments for items like curb and gutter, sidewalk, shared use paths, and sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water system, amending it because we no longer assess for those specifically.
Yeah. So we'd probably need a motion to amend that, or what should we do?
Yes, motion to amend to, yeah.
All right, I'll make the motion to amend section 1 of the whereas in here to exclude the things that are no longer accessible.
All right, is there a second for the amendment?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Everybody understand that? There's items that we used to special assess for that we changed policy and ordinance, so we no longer do that. All right, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, so we go back to the original motion as amended. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Item 11 is also from Finance.
And this is R32 of 2026 to amend the 2026 CIP budgets for the Bjorn Park neighborhood road projects and enter into agreement with Fisher Excavating, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Alderperson Butler.
This is to adjust the amount for changes based on bidding, and I am going to defer to Lisa and/or Brett, depending.
I guess I can go first, and then Brett, I'll just explain the budget amendment. So there is a decrease in the amount of note proceeds for the construction fund. However, on the stormwater side, there is an increase. The net effect of those is the 155. We do have unspent bond proceeds in the stormwater funds. We're recommending using those and not issuing additional debt for this increase for stormwater.
Well, I'll just add that the bids came back extremely favorable for this project. However, during design, we did add quite a bit of stormwater. We had some pipe that we recognized was old corrugate pipe that we had to replace that actually goes through the Beyond Park and daylights near the train tracks beyond the easement. Then we also added some sump pump discharge pipes to take the sump pump discharge subgrade. So we added those pipes and then extended the pipe from on Sherman Street, the dead end on the north side, to West Street. So we added some substantial storm sewer to the project during design, but it's definitely necessary for the long-term viability of that roadway.
Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. R34 is coming from Finance as well.
I think we're on R33.
Oh, R33.
R33, 2026 to amend the 2026 operating budget for certified local government state historic preservation grant for Landmarks Commission, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Alderperson Butler.
And this is to take some state grant money and put it towards a consulting service to support historical grants. And I would defer to Alder Reeves for anything she wants to add on that.
Sure. So this is the Landmarks applied for this grant, so this will fully cover the consultant, and the plan is to utilize the data that the Landmarks Commission has already in terms of mapping to better identify homes that may be eligible for inclusion in the either National Register of Historic Places and or potentially landmark grants. one of the things that we've talked about in landmarks is how do we get the message out that we have funding available for homes that may qualify. And so getting them on, getting a better survey of, these properties in for residents is the first step. So this will not require city staff time. And I believe we have to have it, I'd have to double check on the date we have to have it done. So this would, if we can accept these funds, then we can look at hiring a person to do the survey. We've already sent out something and have interested parties who can meet the deadline and that cost restriction. So hopefully if we can sort of get the word out, it'll also help better identify the properties just in general, but also offer them the potential to perhaps take advantage of some funding that may be available to help with improvements. I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're at R34. This one is from Finance.
R34 of 2026 to amend the 2026 CIP budgets for the Van Buren projects and enter into agreement with Wolf Paving, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Hirsch, Alderperson Butler.
And this is to amend the budget as it says, lower it by 35,000 because bids came in kind of better than expected. Brett, did you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, another great project that surprisingly came in under budget, primarily on the asphalt side, which is surprising because it's oil based. But I think we bid it before kind of the instability in the oil market. So we're in a really good place with this project. It's Van Buren Street from Creedeman to Gregg Trail. It'll be put on a road diet, so we're essentially bringing in the road 6 feet, 3 feet on each side, creating bigger terraces, allowing for more trees to be planted. Another a good project, just continuing from last year. But it's really good numbers, and I would appreciate your support on this one.
All right, any questions or comments?
Will the road diet there have any impact to the on-street parking?
It will not. Great question.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. The next one came from Public Works. Alderperson Abel, are you able to introduce this one, or otherwise Alderperson Tillison can?
Sure.
Okay.
This is R35, 2026, resolution to approve the changes to the City of Stoughton roadway functional classification system. And this is a first reading, I believe. So
Oh, it's a
do I need to
resolution.
move? Oh, it's a resolution.
Yeah, you can motion it.
Oh. And I so move.
Is there a
I'll
second?
turn.
Second, Wilson.
All right. Brett, you want to help us out with this one?
Yep, absolutely. And in your packet, I thought in the supporting documents there was a map, but apparently there's not. So I'm going to try to share my screen.
Okay.
1 second here. Bear with me here.
Yeah. Sure. All right. If you can blow it up now.
Yep. Yeah, 1 second here. Yeah. Okay. All
There
right.
you go.
Can you see my
Yep.
can you see my screen? I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. So the DOT classifies each one of our roadways, and essentially there's a few of our roads that have The functional class has moved up, which is actually a good thing because that positions us for potential federal funding. So the roads that are on the map here that are ours are Roby, Jackson, Hole, Jurtson, Hamilton, Lincoln, and then Lincoln on the north side, and then North Street, 4th Street, and Church Street. So essentially, like Roby went from a collector to a major arterial, as well as Jackson. Hole went from a local to a collector, and then Jurtson, Hamilton, Lincoln from a collector to a major arterial. Church Street, 4th Street went from a local to a collector. So again, these are just how they function based on average daily travel or how they're used. So this is actually a good thing for Stoughton because it does potentially position us for federal funding when they can become a major arterial or a collector street. It's a good thing, and I would appreciate your support on this one.
All right. Are there any questions for Brett? Alderperson Hirsch?
I don't have a question. I just want to make sure that this map gets into the packet when we do it, just because I think it's very helpful when people review it.
Yeah, Candy, I put it in the supporting documents. I may have put it in there late.
We'll get it in there, Brett. Thank you.
Okay, yep.
All right. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That carries. All right. So we have one other item, potential sale of city property located at 415 South Franklin Street. We have the ability to go into closed session. How would you like to start this off, Rick?
I think Chris is
on here.
online. Yeah, I think Chris joined.
Okay.
So maybe we just start off with the overview of what the proposal is.
Chris, do you want me to put up some slides?
Yep, there you go. So I did send this over. So this is a kind of a comprehensive overview of what's been discussed over the past few months here. So this whole thing originated with Chris the planner's pocket neighborhood overlay, which I think was last summer, and I was at a council meeting on a separate issue, and it just stuck with me, and I thought, I'd really like to find a path forward somewhere with this. Reached out to city staff, and this was a potential site that came up, and been kind of exploring it over the past few months, and then thought that this would be a really efficient use of that pocket neighborhood overlay. And I don't know if we want to go through every slide, but I do think that there's a really good opportunity here. There's an existing, and part of this is it's a really oddball site, right? So that's why we're very much attracted to it. There's a utility easement going down the middle. There's a stormwater retention pond on the northeast side, which we would still have to have access to. It's a very underutilized site, but it is in our opinion it's perfect for this kind of use. If you want to just keep going down a little bit in the presentation, obviously that's would meet ownership housing demand. The goal here is to really keep these as affordable ownership opportunities for a variety of different kinds of end buyers. There's definitely some grade issues on there that we want to maintain. The grade, we want to minimize the site as much as possible. We want to keep as much of the existing tree cover. And frankly, I don't think we could achieve that, but for the pocket neighborhood overlay, and that's what's so exciting about that in general, but specifically for this site. So we would propose a CSM to break off the stormwater area. We have the buildable area that is shown in green. Break that up into lots, keep that easement for public space and access through the site, and make sure that that stormwater lot could be accessed. Primary access would be off Franklin. We have a density that meets the yeah, there's your overlay district right there, and we've been very I guess particular about making sure that we meet everything for any proposed project on that site. But I think what we're here for tonight is to say, hey, we really have identified an opportunity here. If there's any interest, let us keep working on it. If not, then we understand. But we do think that there's a really nice opportunity for that site to create some additional what we feel would be good opportunities for home ownership that serves an underserved market.
Yeah, and I would say at this point, the alders really haven't had access to this presentation. So I'm thinking we can email this out and give them a chance to go through it and digest it a little bit, and then maybe come back and talk about it more in detail. I mean, you're not in a time crunch, are you?
Well, no, but we would like to respond to any questions. I don't know if we need to come back to council, or if there's a way to do it sort of informally and then address it again at council. We're more than happy to answer any questions about the concept or the ownership intent on this, and anything with the site restrictions as well. So it is laid out here, and again, everybody can just take a look through it, and anything that comes up, please just let us know.
All right. Are there any initial thoughts from Alderperson Reeves?
And it could be in the packet, but one thing that got my attention was the 19 bur oak trees. So whether it's this evening or when you start nailing down some of the details, I'd be interested to know, what are they all staying? What's going to happen with those? So that's my first thought without digging too much into it.
Okay, yeah, I can address that. So that's on the south side where we have that slope that's going up. We want to keep, if we can keep everything, we will. But those are specifically the ones that we've identified as very important to not only to the site, but to the neighborhood and immediate area. So, I just want to emphasize that if this overlay wasn't there, it would just be disappointing, if somebody wanted to come in, if this lot got developed in the future, right? It'd be disappointing to see someone come in and just sort of clear cut and grade it all flat. So we want to take advantage of that pocket neighborhood overlay and really create something that fits in with the existing site and minimize any disruption on that site.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderperson Hirsch.
Can you put up the map again of where, I used to live in that neighborhood, and I know the neighbors that are there, they really love that area because it's like a wildlife sanctuary back there. So I know you're going to get some opposition from those neighbors if their sledding hill and their wildlife kind of area is gone, because a lot of them really enjoy the deer, and there's foxes back there, and just a slew of other animals that they're really proud of. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how far back. I'm trying to get oriented how far back it goes.
So it looks like there's Vernon Street behind it.
So if it's just in that parking lot area where Stoughton Trailers parks right now, I think that'd be great. that whole stormwater management area is really where there's a lot of cool wildlife, and then all the people that live up in Vernon Street where their houses are on that,
If you could shift over, so if you look up that stormwater area, I think it's, don't hold me to this, I think it's like 2 acres that would be sectioned off and left alone.
okay,
It's the area that you're most concerned about?
yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, if they stay within that existing
Yeah, it looks like,
crappy-looking parking lot,
yeah, it looks
that
like
would be
everything's to the
fantastic.
west. Okay, so, I'm looking at you, Rick, process-wise here, what are you thinking?
Yes, so we do have the option to go into closed session. So obviously we just had the concept presentation tonight. If you want to take some time to digest that, that's totally understandable. Otherwise, the proposal, I guess, it's a city-owned lot, and
We don't have a value for it at this
Yeah.
point.
so Chris has sent a letter of intent, I guess, for like a negotiation period over the next 6 months to work on selling the lot and entering into a development agreement. So if we wanted to go into closed session to discuss, the potential sale and development of this lot and what an agreement would look like to convey the land as part of that, we could certainly go into closed session if the council felt that was necessary
Or
tonight.
if you'd rather have time to digest the plan, we can send it out and bring it back. That's what I'm hearing. Okay.
Can
And
I
Chris-
just ask a question really fast?
Sure.
Sorry, Rick. Can you explain like what an LOI is really
Oh,
fast?
So the letter of intent, it's generally non-binding. This one, it has a few binding. The intent is to be bound basically that we would be exclusively negotiating with the developer. That's really, for a 6-month period, we wouldn't be, trying to sell this lot. But otherwise, it's basically an expression of our intent to work on trying to find an agreement. It's not binding the city by any means. Just in this case, what they're proposing is binding in the sense that we would only be working with them over the next 6 months.
All right, so Chris, are you available for the next meeting? If we have questions?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing here is we're going to send out your presentation to the alders. They're going to look at it between now and the next meeting, which is in a few weeks. And then if you could come to that meeting, we'll probably have some questions. And at that point, maybe be in a better position to give us some direction on what the council wants us to do. Alderperson Jensen, turn on your mic there, bud.
Thank you. I'm very familiar with this area. I lived right over just off of Vernon there. When I was a kid, we used all kinds of, like uses for that place. It was farmland when we were there, and we did sledding and everything. But anyways, I think this is an interesting project. My question has to do with Franklin Street, because Franklin Street basically ends at Nelson, and it's no more than, I don't know, well, it's a paved dirt road, is basically what it is. There's no curb and gutter there, so I'm wondering if Brett is still with us. I don't know if he is or not. I don't think he is. But anyways, I was wondering if he could give us the information about the status of that road, because it's definitely would need to be improved.
Okay. We can check into that.
Yeah, and doesn't Franklin right after that really narrow almost down
Yeah,
to
it
like?
narrows down. It's almost like an alley.
Right, and so I'm just wondering if you add more houses there, if we need to widen that street, because then it'll become,
Yeah.
it depends on how many houses are gonna be
Yeah,
going
to
in
do
there.
this project, it would need to definitely be improved.
I
No.
think that would come out in like when we're actually doing the developer agreement, we would send this all through all of the different, so this is just like the intent, like, hey, we're looking at doing this project, and then we would start the CSM, Plan Commission, rezoning, like all of that stuff, road improvements. So, yeah. I'm not gonna say it doesn't need to be done, because
We
it
can look
might.
into that.
And if, can I add something quickly
Sure.
in there? So the existing parking lot, I think from what we counted, has about 32 spaces in there right now, so it's, that's what it was used for. The proposal that we have would have about half of that, or 16 stalls. So I wouldn't necessarily see an increase in traffic from the existing use. But to the point with Franklin improvements, there would be some utility work that would have to be performed as well. So that might be a good opportunity to sort of piggyback everything on there.
Okay. Somebody else have their hand up over here? All right, any other questions? All right, so we'll bring this one back here at the next meeting then, and then, Chris, you want to send this out tomorrow?
I'm actually waiting for the meeting to get over.
Okay, you're gonna hit send?
Right here.
All right, so that's all we had for business tonight, so to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wozniak Scanlon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.